Afternoon and welcome into the Yuengling Power Mizzou post-game live show here on YouTube and wherever else you might be managing to listen. This is Gabe DeArmond. I say afternoon because I know it's not a good afternoon for the vast majority of you guys. I don't use the word embarrassing to have to do with sports. I object to the usage of that word. You guys shouldn't be embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. Everyone involved with the Missouri football program in that game at Kyle Field this morning / afternoon, absolutely, that was embarrassing. That was 41-10. Like, I think the best way to sum this up is that Missouri had first and goal at the 1 yard line and kicked a field goal with 8 seconds left. Everything about that is embarrassing. A, score. B, don't kick the field goal. C, be within 31 points to begin with. It couldn't have ended in a more perfect way. I wrote after the Vanderbilt game, and I'm going to get to some of your comments, and I'm going to start with one that I saw from Jake. Because this is right. Embarrassing loss proves that Mizzou is definitely overranked based off last season. So I wrote after the Vanderbilt game that Missouri had done nothing to look like a top 10 team, and then they looked like they were coasting off what had been earned by last year's team, and this year's team needed to go prove it and earn it. I got some blowback on that from some people at Missouri football. Where's the lie? They've done. I will tell you right now, after that performance, I have zero issue if Missouri is not in the top 25 tomorrow afternoon. Zero issue. They have beaten a okay Boston College team. Vanderbilt in double overtime, I don't even know what that's worth. And they were absolutely humiliated start to finish by Texas A&M today. Like, I don't know how, guys, to put into words what a beating that was. I can't pick out 4 plays Missouri won during the course of that game when it was in doubt. That game officially absolutely ended on the first play of the third quarter, which was a 75-yard Texas A&M touchdown run. At that point, that game's over. Nothing that happened counts. A&M wasn't trying after that. I would argue it was over significantly earlier. I told people at 17-0 it was over. I think everybody knew that. But when you want okay, absolutely no way this is changing is when Missouri had 20 minutes to go into halftime, build up some pride, figure out a way, hey, we're probably not going to win this game, but let's see if we can make it interesting. And the first play of the half is a 75-yard touchdown run. It was over then. Nothing that happened after that counts. So can you pick me out 4 plays Missouri won before that point? Because I'm honestly not sure I can. So here's how we're going to do this. Gerrod is in College Station. He's down with Connor McClain probably right about now at what I imagine will be a very short post-game press conference with Eli Drinkwitz and I don't know, maybe some Missouri players, maybe not. If you go to the site right now, Gerrod is going to have a live deal up from Postgame. I should have mentioned quicker than I did. We're going to be brought to you today by Yuengling, as we always are, pregame and postgame. Yuengling is America's oldest brewery. You can check them out at yuengling.com. Log her up. Enjoy responsibly. I know you guys are going to need something. I imagine most of you already started, if we're being honest. I'll be clear with you. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the second half of that game. I got a lot of things done. As soon as A&M ran for a 75-yard touchdown run in the third quarter, I was pretty much done with it. But so Gerrod and Connor are at postgame. Gerrod is going to jump on here when he is done. He's going to spend 20, 30 minutes with us. So what I want to do before then, I want to go through some of your comments. The voicemail line has been absolutely lighting up. If you want to leave us a voicemail and you haven't yet, go to speakpipe.com/powermizzou. Look, we've got almost 400 people on here 4 minutes into this show. I know you guys got things to say. We're going to get to as many of them as we can. I will tell you, if you left a voicemail laced with like multiple profanities, we're probably not playing it. Guys, I got to not run afoul of YouTube here. We've got to make sure that we can actually do this show. So if you just called and dropped 27 F-bombs. Like, it's not going to happen. So, keep it clean, or as clean as you can. I don't mind one or two here or there, but we do, again, have to be a little bit careful. So first, I want to go through just some of the comments that have been left here in the chat since we started. Breakfast King says, good call, saying the A&M offense is trash. Okay, so I will give you a mea culpa on multiple things here. First of all, I judged Connor Wigman on the Notre Dame game. Talked with Carter Carrolls on our opponent preview show on Thursday, and he said, I'm still of the belief Wegman is the better quarterback for Texas A&M because what he did at the beginning of 2023 is better than anything we've seen since. I was wrong on Connor Wegman. He lit Missouri up from the start today. He was phenomenal. First drive, like, just absolutely put the ball anywhere he wanted to. And he was the guy that was running for 15 yards in first downs. He played very well. A&M offense, I didn't think A&M could win a game in the 30s. Well, they didn't. They won a game in the 40s, and Missouri scored 10. I was completely wrong. This is why I don't live in a mansion off my gambling winnings. I thought Missouri would win the game. Today has a lot to do with Missouri, no question. But today also has something to do with A&M. They came out in a game that could get their season. Like, A&M will get playoff talk and playoff hype now. They came out in a game that really, really mattered, and they played as well as they've played all year. They deserve a ton of credit. Jake says the defensive coordinator is a joke. So is Brady Cook. Look, I know Brady's going to take a lot of the heat in this, and he deserves a lot of the heat. Like, he played poorly. No question. He hadn't been very good this year. He was worse today. Absolutely. Everybody shares the blame in this one. I'm just going to read you the first paragraph of my instant reaction that is up there. I said after the Vanderbilt game, these were the most important 2 weeks of Eli Drinkwitz's career. He was about to earn his $9 million salary. He didn't. Everything about this day was bad, and I'll get to that, but head of the list is the coaching staff. Missouri came out and for some reason took the ball with an offense that is struggling and didn't score, and yes, a bad call contributed. Then the quarterback that Drinkwitz insisted was only on the depth chart for semantics absolutely shredded them, and Mizzou's own quarterback missed a wide open throw you absolutely cannot miss, and then they scored a touchdown only to have it called back on one of the very few actual accurate calls the refs made in the first half. It was all bad. I'm going to blame a lot of people here, but front and center is the coaching staff. Eli Drinkwitz, complete failure today on his part. Look, he has gotten a lot of praise in 5 years, and he's deserved a lot of that praise. When you get paid $9 million and your team does that off a bye week, brace up, because it's coming your way. All deserved. The worst performance in a big game I've seen out of a Missouri team, like, I don't know since when, because there were expectations on this team, right? This was a 2-point game. This was not the 2008 Big 12 title game where you weren't really playing for anything. The 2007 Big 12 title game against Oklahoma, like, it was disappointing, but that was, I mean, they had a chance to win that game. They were tied in the second half. Same with 2013 SEC title game. I have to go back for performances like this. I have to go back to like the 66-0 game against K-State, the 73-0 game against Texas A&M. But the difference is those teams weren't good. We knew it. Nothing was expected of those teams. Them losing 66-0 wasn't a surprise. This team should not get beat. And 41-10 is the official final score. A&M could have won that game by 60. I mean, this team should not get beat that badly. Complete failure. The last comment was about the defensive coordinator. Look, Corey Batoon got undressed by Colin Klein. I mean, I thought one of the biggest plays of the game was they had A&M in like 3rd and 8 at the 20, and A&M runs a draw play down to the 1-yard line. Just complete. Missouri was totally caught off guard. Wegman played well, but his toughest decision was which wide open receiver am I going to hit? I mean, there were no Missouri defenders within 5 yards of anybody most of that first half. It was absolutely insane. Unbelievable how bad Missouri was on both sides. Like, I can't argue one side of the ball was worse than the other. They were both absolutely awful. Jake wants to know why Cook's in the game in a blowout. I don't know. I think it's like a starting pitcher that gives up 9 in the first inning. You make him wear it for a while. Um, Peter Wagner says this game makes me regret everything. I should have gone to Tennessee. John says my Saturdays are free now. So look, we're going to talk a lot about this, and I promise I'm going to keep the use of college football playoff talk to a minimum, because I don't think this team gets to talk about that right now. That's not in the season's not over, but I understand why people feel that way today. And today is a pretty good sign that everything you wanted to happen is very, very unlikely. It is not impossible, but it is very, very unlikely. We're gonna. I mean, I will say that, and I wrote again in my instant reaction. You don't get to talk about the playoff. Like this team told us, hey, nobody respects us. Hey, they're not putting us on the right TV channel. Hey, we're the best receiving core in the country. Like they talked a lot. They backed up zero of it today. Zero. So when that happens, like they got to talk their stuff last year and they earned every bit of it. You know, you guys didn't think we were any good. You picked us to win 6 games. We took it. They were right. They proved us wrong last year. So now when they've talked a lot and they go do that on national television in their biggest game, at least of the year, I'm not going to say it's the biggest game in the history of the program, anything like that. Biggest game of the year to date. And they go do that. No talk, no words, no anger. You sit there and take everything that everyone will write, everyone will say, everyone will tweet, everyone will leave on the voicemail line. You do it all. All right. What an embarrassment. Accurate, overrated for now. Accurate, absolutely. Terrible coaching. I think we're kind of all on the same page here. Boof and Tobacco says fun season. See y'all next year. Look, guys, if you don't laugh, like what are you gonna do, right? You gotta laugh at some point. To all the Mizzou fans who went to this game spending time, money, and emotion, I'm sorry from Ben Stinson. Tax Act Bowl or Duke's Mayo Bowl. Look, I get it, guys. I'm not even going to argue. You know, all right. So I want to take this one and then I want to go to voicemails after this, Sean. So this is the last comment for just a second. Wait, I lied. We've got one more. Malachi, I see your comment. We'll get to it in a second. John says we wasted Luther Burden's last year. They don't even play him all the time, let alone throw to him. Luther Burden's a very good player. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. He looked mid-first quarter on the bench like he wanted to be anywhere but there. That can't be, like, I get it. I get he's frustrated. But this is not Luther Burden and Missouri. This is Luther Burden, a part of Missouri. That looked very much to me like a guy that fed the body language said, these guys aren't helping me out. I just scored a touchdown. It's coming back. We got nothing. And I mean, they just kept putting the camera on him. And I don't know a better word. It looked like he was pouting. Now, Luther's a very good football player. I'm not arguing that. That body language cannot be broadcast on national television when you are Luther Burden. He is the most recognizable guy on this team. He is the face of this program. He's the guy everybody knows. And yes, he's the best player. I will not argue that. And he made a play and it came back and I'm sure he was angry. And I don't even care if he yells. Cool. Get mad. But I mean, they just kept putting the camera on him. And that to me was a really, really bad sign of a sideline and a team that didn't have the right mindset and body language at that time. Maybe that's unfair. Look, I'm not trying to pick on Luther over anybody else. He deserves no more blame than anybody else on that team does, maybe even a little bit less. He shares in it, though. And I didn't like that part of what I saw today. Malachi, please tell me not to talk about the QB this week. Cook was a huge reason why we didn't have a chance. He's hurt, and they won't bench him. So, first of all, yes, 100%. Like, guys, here's what I do. I am willing to change my opinion when evidence tells me I need to. I am willing to tell you I was wrong. Brady Cook is not good enough right now. Now, that doesn't mean Drew Pine is. I don't know. Eli Drinkwitz is not going to bench him. I don't think. He hasn't yet. Now, I had multiple people ask me this weekend today, is he hurt? To my knowledge, he is not. I'll say this, they're not going to tell us if he is. He had a dislocated or separated whatever shoulder 2 years ago, and he played every game, and they didn't tell us. Unless you cut Brady's arms off and maybe the legs too, he's going to play. So if Drinkwitz is trotting him out there and he's hurt, that means he doesn't think he has anybody any better. You're 5 years in. If you don't have somebody that can play and your quarterback's hurt, that's you. That's your fault. All the recruiting you've done doesn't matter if you don't have a guy you think is, if you think you have to play a guy who's hurt. Again, I do not know that Brady Cook is hurt. I understand why people watching it think so. I've heard nothing to tell me that. But if he is, and you still think he's your best option, then all this stuff we were saying about the most talented roster ever is idiotic. Like if that's your best quarterback play, we got to shut up about the rest of the stuff because none of it matters. So yes, quarterback is absolutely in the crosshairs today. My only issue today is this. I think that quarterback will be the one that gets all of the blame. He deserves blame. Zero question he deserves blame. Literally everything deserves blame. The receivers were awful. They weren't open a lot. They dropped balls. Yes, he missed some of them too. The line was awful. The play calling I thought was awful. I think Kirby Moore thinks he has a running quarterback on this team, and he quite obviously doesn't. The defense was awful. Like all of it was awful. That does not minimize that Brady was awful. He was. But I don't think it's fair to just say Brady Cook was awful and ignore that the rest was also awful. And that's not building up Brady Cook. It's not complimenting. He was bad today, guys. So was everybody else. Ryan, see your super chat, man. Appreciate you for being here. I think we interacted a little bit on Twitter and had kind of that same conversation. And again, I am not praising Brady Cook or his play today. You would have to know absolutely nothing about football today to watch that and say quarterback is not a problem for Missouri. Quarterback's a problem for Missouri. And the list of problems for Missouri is way, way too long. So, all right, guys, I want to hit the voicemail line for a little bit before Gerrod gets in. We'll get back to the comments. Look, I already wrote one column. I got another one to write, but it can wait till whenever. We will do this show for as long as we need to do this show. So, Sean, why don't you hit me with the first call, man?
I think today proved that we are not a playoff team. I think even with a loss to Bama and a win versus Oklahoma, if we're in the bubble with other two lost teams, and this is our second best opponent we played all year, and this was our performance, I don't see us getting in over anybody.
Completely agree. Completely agree with all of that. And I will go a step further. I don't even want to talk about the playoff because having any chance to get to the playoff requires one of two things. It either requires winning every other game or doing like the gentleman just said and winning every other game except Alabama. I don't know if this team can beat Auburn, guys. They just had 2 weeks to prepare, and they looked like McNeese State. I mean, I'm not kidding. I didn't watch A&M McNeese State, but it could not have been less competitive than today was. I've seen bad Vanderbilt teams. They didn't look that uncompetitive. I've seen awful Missouri teams. They didn't look that uncompetitive. Not in a long time. So while I understand the goal is the playoff and we're terming things in terms of that can't even be on the radar for this team. I don't know if they can beat Auburn. I don't know if they can beat South Carolina. I know they can beat UMass, and I know they can beat Mississippi State. That's about it. I don't know anything else about this team right now. So I completely understand the call, and I agree with everything you said, but I just can't talk playoff right now. All right, Sean, hit me.
Are we going to bring a single blitz? Are we going to bring any pressure? Are we just going to keep just getting diced up? And then we'll get the ball back, run a couple QB runs, take a couple sacks, punt it right back. Did we talk at halftime, or did we just jerk? This team makes no sense.
Appreciate the self-censorship there because I know what you were going to say. Look, that's the most disappointing part to me. Like you said, what'd you do at halftime? I mean, at some point there has to be some pride, right? And I didn't see a lot of pride today. I saw a team that went in at halftime and knew it was beat, and I knew they were beat, and you knew they were beat too. But it just kind of accepted it and came out and gave up a 75-yard touchdown run. Look, when I watch a game, like I'm doing so many things during a game that I'm not going to tell you. I can sit there and tell you how often Missouri blitzed or if they didn't. I mean, sometimes obviously you can see it live, but I'm just saying I'm not charting anything. I can tell you Missouri got no pressure on Connor Weigman. Would bringing a blitz have helped? I don't know, because I didn't cover anybody downfield or make any plays down. I think the most disappointing part defensively to me was when you did get them in 3rd and 9, when you did get them in a tough spot, they made plays and you didn't. Like the deep pass over Nick DeLoach's head, like he had pretty good coverage, but the A&M guy just went up and got the ball. It was like 3rd and 9. You had a chance to get the ball back. Toriano Pride, like there is a floating ball out there. If you take one step forward, it's an interception and maybe a pick six. But he waited there like he was fielding a punt. And the A&M receiver came in and knocked it away. Like, and again, that's a chance to get the ball back, and you didn't do it. Is it any more important or less important than any other play in that game? I don't know. It was just yet another example of Missouri, like, failing to do anything worthwhile in this game, to be honest. All right, Sean, let's go to the next call.
Hey, Gabe. Hey, Tiger fans. Couldn't be more disappointed in today's game. You come out, one big play, nothing else. Luther has to grow up. He can't get so pissed off 5 minutes into the game. The biggest fear with this team was always, is Brady Cook actually the guy? He's thrown picks on the 2 biggest drives of his career, at home versus LSU and in Athens, and he didn't show up today. He looks scared. He looks timid. I question if Drink should have looked for a different quarterback last year. I'm not sure if Drink is the guy long term. Batoon looks like one of the worst Power 5 hires we've ever seen. This season is an abject disaster, basically. I mean, you have 2 lucky wins over bad teams at home, and then you got blown out in your one opportunity to prove yourself. Just an absolute disaster. Disappointing and sad as a fan. When will it ever end? I guess we have to wonder.
All right, let's go, Sean. Look, today, all fair statements. Like I said earlier, you want the national spotlight. You want the respect. You talk. You take what comes your way. What comes your way is that call. Today, fair. Now, am I going to call Eli Drinkwitz not the answer? Corey Batoon, one of the worst Power 4 coordinators, the program over. I don't know, guys. Like, that's all. We'll find out, right? But today, I understand it. I do. You earned all of that in a game in which you had a 27-yard completion on the first play. And then the only thing really you did well for about the next 30 minutes was you should have drawn a pass interference penalty. And yes. So let's address that before we go back to the voicemails, because I'm sure we got comments and stuff about the officials, right? I thought the pass interference call was pretty clear. I thought it was pretty clearly a flag. When they picked it up, I was stunned. It was an awful call. If you want to live in a world in which you are going to convince yourself that if they don't make that call, the rest of the game goes differently, like, I can't convince you not to live in that world. I mean, I'm never going to be able to tell you that that's not true. I'm going to look up how many plays there were. Missouri ran 61 plays and A&M ran 58. So there were 119 plays. Let's divide that in half. Let's go with 60 plays, 59 in the first half and the first play of the third quarter. How many of those plays Missouri win? 4? 5? Maybe 5 more were neutral, and maybe A&M won like the other 49. So awful call. The lineman downfield on Armand Mimbo, I'm sorry, he was 4 yards past the line of scrimmage when the ball was thrown. It was the right call. It sucks. It doesn't affect the play. It was the right call. The defensive hold on Joe Charleston had the guy's arm pinned down. It was a good call. There were bad calls. A&M apparently could shove the official, not get a flag. There were bad calls. Missouri was so bad that they rendered them all moot. in my opinion. So I did want to address that because I'm sure we have comments about it. We may get some calls about it, but I wanted to get it out there now. Sham, next voicemail.
This team is softer than RHC 4x4. This team
So
is
now we're
softer.
calling out individual posters. All right, we're good. Look, soft is something you've earned today too. I agree. Soft is something you've earned. Until you prove otherwise. Like, hey, this can change next week, 2 weeks, whatever. They got 7 more games to go prove us wrong. But today, I told you, it looked like a team that at halftime accepted its fate. I completely agree with that. Nick says, I'm old enough to remember Drink calling fans out for not showing up. Eli talks. He's brash. He's like, I don't think he would even be upset with saying he's arrogant. Yes, all those things. And it was real good for a year and a half. And when today happens, it's not very good. Again, that's projecting nothing into the future. That is not saying this season's over. That's doing none of that. But today, everything that comes your way, you own. And look, I'm not listening to Postgame. I'm not following Twitter. I'm sitting here with you guys, right? My guess is probably that they're saying that. Like, I don't think anybody on Missouri's team is dodging that. I don't think they'll make any excuses or try to convince anyone they played well or anything like that. But they've earned it, no doubt. All right, let's go to the next one.
Hey, Power Mizzou, what an absolute embarrassment by the Tigers today. I think it's really time to call into question the team's heart, the coaching staff's heart, Cook's heart. Never thought I'd do that going into this year, but even going onto the sideline, there was no sense of frustration. It just looked like everybody gave up. Cook isn't putting his shoulder down and trying to get the extra yards. Norfleet continues to fall over or just even get tackled before he actually even gets touched. The defense, let's not even go there. But, I thought that Drink and I thought that Moore were supposed to be offensive coaches, but they sure didn't have any answers for today. And honestly, throughout the season, Drink hasn't really had any answers for the offense all year long. You can have all of the special teams talent you want, but if you don't have a quarterback that can actually throw the ball and get the ball to that talent, then what's it matter?
Again, a lot of fair criticisms. I'm not going to question Brady Cook's heart. I've seen enough out of him that, I will question some decision making. I will question his arm, maybe. I will question at times the ability to be a quarterback at this level. I wouldn't question his heart. That's just me. That's my opinion. I think that as bad as he was, it's possible the offensive line was worse today. They gave up, might have been 4 sacks. It felt like 15. They had A&M had 6 sacks. It probably could have been twice that. And then like Brady's running ability looks worse to me this year, but a couple times he got away and made a play. And then like Marcus Bryant was lined up wrong on a first down run. Mookie Cooper dropped 2 touchdown passes. Like, I don't know how else to say it. In the fourth quarter, he dropped 2 touchdown passes. Would they have changed the game? No. But again, it goes to, hey, there's things to spread around. I think the biggest problem right now, everybody tried to get rid of Xavier Delgado for 2 years, right? Everybody said, yeah, Javon Foster's good, but like we got this dude coming in the portal from SMU. We fell in love with shiny new toys. Well, they're new and other people wanted them and we're paying them a lot of money. They must be really good. Right now, they're not. Doesn't mean they're not good players. Doesn't mean they can never be good players. Right now, the left side of Missouri's offensive line ain't good enough. And honestly, today, the right side wasn't good enough either. Nick Scorton wrecked that game. He did. I want to go back to a comment just because I saw it. Will anyone ask Drink why he kicked a field goal? No tough questions. First of all, Mizzou Batman, I assume you know every question that was asked, and no matter what questions were asked, if it was anything short of F you, I hate you for losing this game, it wasn't a tough question. Does it really matter why Eli Drinkwitz kicked a field goal? Is that they got about 6 minutes with Eli Drinkwitz? Is that what you want to know? Because it's not what I care about. I don't really care if it was 41-7 or 41-10. I think it was pathetic. I wouldn't have done it. I said the same thing after the K-State game, but that's not what I'm using my 1 or 2 questions that I get to ask Eli Drinkwitz on. I can tell you that I texted with Gerrod Hamilton during the game, and I said, look, somebody's got to ask him how that game happens coming off a bye. Like how that performance happens coming off a bye. And Gerrod said, I've already got it written down as my first question. So I'm assuming that question was asked. I don't know. I wasn't there. I haven't seen postgame. We're going to have video of it later. I'll put it up. But if we've already moved on to the media's soft and won't ask tough questions, then we're way further along in the grieving process than I thought. Gage, appreciate the comments on the post-game article. Thank you very much. Got a couple more super chats I want to get to here, Sham, and then we'll go. Gabe, I just spent $900 on 5 tickets in Tuscaloosa this morning before the game. Am I cooked? I mean, look, go. Bryant-Denny's a great place to see a game. It's Alabama. It's a fun town. You should go. I would not go in there with expectations of seeing your team win, but weird things happen, man. It's sports. No, I'd go ahead and take the trip. Jake, the super chat again. If this team plays like they did today, I don't see them finishing with 8 wins. And thanks for the coverage. No, I agree, Jake. I wrote that after the game. We are 5 games into this season. I said after the Vanderbilt game, like the longer you show up with your C game, then it's not actually your C game. It's actually your A game. Well, today wasn't even a C game. Today was an F game. Like every single person gets an F. Not one person avoids that. It was one of the worst games I've seen Missouri football play in literally decades. So yeah, if they play like they did today, like I said, they can beat UMass. I think they could maybe still beat Mississippi State. They're not beating Oklahoma with that or anything close to it. They're not beating Auburn with that or anything close to it, or South Carolina or Arkansas. So again, I said at the beginning of this year, 9-3 would be disappointing, but I wouldn't necessarily say like a failure. I said anything less than 9-3, if everybody was healthy, would tell me that like Eli Drinkwitz would have to explain something. This team goes and wins 7 or 8 games. That's an awful job, guys, by everybody involved. I mean, it's not just you guys that were saying this is the most talented team. They said it. It's the most talented team we had. It's not even close. Deepest team we've had, not even close. So again, there are 7 games left. As Joe Tessitore and Jordan Rodgers desperately tried to say to get you to continue watching that game. Season's not over. 12-team playoff. You can have a day like this. Blah, blah, blah. All true. You can. Maybe. But the bigger problem is we're 5 games in. I haven't seen Missouri be good. I've seen Missouri be good enough. I think they were good against Murray State. I don't care. Maybe they were good against Buffalo. They were good enough against Boston College. I don't even think they were good enough against Vanderbilt. They got bailed out because Vanderbilt shanked a kick. And they were awful today. Like 5 weeks in, we haven't seen them play well. So, as they say, wish in one hand and do the other thing in the other and see which one fills up first. Like we can hope that this team isn't what it's shown us. But all we can base it on is what we've seen. And so far, we've seen nothing to indicate this is a good team. Not only top 10. I haven't seen anything that tells me this is a top 25 team. Maybe it is. I just haven't seen it. All right, Sean, let's go back to the voicemails.
All right, Gabe. Jaden Hatfield here. It's about time to sell the team. Sell the team. We got the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th man out there. And we got Brady Cook, who can't complete a pass more than a 5-yard curl route. It's really time to reconsider where we are as a conference. We should play in the Big 12 right now. We're getting beat. We're getting beat in every facet of the game, Gabe. I'm not joking with you either. I had to crack open a beer before noon today because my blood pressure was rising. What are your thoughts, Gabe? Please tell me.
Jaden, look, I agree. They were awful. I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't like, who do we sell the team to? Who owns the team? Like, do they become the Columbia Tigers instead of the University of Missouri? I don't know how we sell a college team. Although, frankly, I don't know, NIL, that like maybe you can these days. I don't know. There's no rules. Maybe you can. But I don't know who we're selling the team to. I hope it was a Yuengling you opened at noon. I don't blame you. I know a lot of people that had quit watching the game by then. But hey, again, I can't argue with you. And again, do want to just take a quick break. That seemed like a good segue. Drinking before noon. I'm not going to say we recommend it, but if you're going to do it, make it a Yuengling, right? I feel like Flight is probably a better pre-noon beer. Save the lager, the Oktoberfest, the black and tans for afternoon, but go ahead and crack yourself open a Yuengling Flight if you need to get through an 11 a.m. game. Yuengling is America's oldest brewery. We encourage you to lager up, enjoy responsibly. They've been great partners of ours for 2 years now, and really appreciate them doing this. And look, guys, we got 600 people online. Like, I know everybody thinks that, hey, it's just about success and the team being good, and you don't have to cover them when they're bad. No, it's actually more important that we do our jobs after a day like today, because there's 600 of you on here right now wanting to know what the hell happened. And we will write about that and talk about that all night long if we have to. Hope we get a break in there to watch a little playoff baseball, but if we don't, we don't. So, all right, Sean, I'm going to keep rolling through comments, but go ahead and give me another voicemail.
Gabe, it's Nitro. Into the first half, I think I'm probably going to turn this off and go apple picking or something, but a lot's going wrong. Can't play defense. We can't pass. We can't block, run. Refs hate us. I don't know. But on top of all that, Drinkwitz, his clock management continues to just be mind-boggling. He burned a timeout in the first quarter on 4th down. He called a timeout and then got us down to the half-yard line. Like, he does a lot well, like recruiting, and then he does a lot poorly, like getting prepared for Texas A&M and clock management. I hope you and Gerrod, hang on, let me drink my Yuengling really quick.
Perfect.
Are going to write about that because it's annoying, and it's going to make us lose games that we should win in the future.
All right. So Nitro, appreciate the call again. I'm going to push back on nothing you guys think and say today. Like, I'm just not going to argue with you. Mostly because I agree with most of it. I would like to say this. Why is it apple picking that always is the non-sports activity? Everything is, hey, if there's no good games on, go apple picking. This is your chance to. How many people go apple picking, man? Like, we did that once or twice with our kids, and it's kind of fun. They liked it when they were young. But like, maybe I need to own an orchard. Is apple picking way more popular than I realized? Like, I had no idea that this many people go apple picking. Holy cow, guys, the chat is amazing. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to catch up on all this, but I do truly appreciate all the activity that's there. And Bill Reloaded says, I could have gone apple picking down in Lewisburg and cider. Yeah, again, apple picking. I don't know. It's the activity. All right, let's go. Let's go, Sean.
So I'm not going to try and start the quarterback conversation again. I agree with you, Gabe. It's not worth happening. They're not going to sit Brady Cook down no matter how he looks. But I do have to say, he did not look healthy today. I mean, there were a couple of times in the first half he was doubled over, looked like he was clearly in pain on TV. He did not play well today, to say the least. Even the throws that he hit were not good. Some of the big plays, the few limited big plays that Mizzou had, balls were underthrown, overthrown. It was a bad day. I mean, it was a bad day for everybody. And so it's not even worth really getting into the officiating. But what is the deal with the late hit on a play that was blown dead on Brady Cook? No flag there. A Texas A&M player literally shoved an official. Now, it looked like he didn't mean to. He was trying to push a Mizzou player. The ref happened to be there. But still, no flag on that either. It wouldn't have made a difference in this game. I understand that. It's 41-7 right now in the fourth quarter. But I almost have to laugh at some of those non-calls on Texas A&M. Even though it wouldn't have made a difference, literally pushing an official,
Sean, we're good.
and hitting a quarterback after
go ahead
a play
and
that's
hit stop on this one. I get the point. I agree. Look, bad day for the refs. I mean, the early call was awful. And I should have said this earlier. If we're gonna have the quarterback talk, and it's fair to have it, let's have it about the most important play of the game. You're down. I think it was 10-0. Theo Weiss down the seam. Dude's open. I mean, he's open. He's between defenders, but he's open. That's a throw you got to make if you want to win games like this. Brady didn't make it. Missed him. And it was a touchdown. Like, Theo's not the fastest dude in the world, but that was a touchdown. He puts it on him. I talked to Bud Elliott on our show on Tuesday, and he said, what I need to see out of Brady is, like, put the ball in the right place for your guys to go make a play after they catch it, right? Well, not only did he not put it in the right place for him to make a play after he caught it, he didn't even put it in the right place for him to catch it. And yeah, hey, the guys on TV were saying, you know, we expect him to cut in and Theo kept it, whatever. You got to make that throw. You just got to make it. I mean, that's a game-changing play. That makes it 10-7. And who knows what happens then? You feel decent about yourself, right? And then the next play is the Burden touchdown that gets called back. And again, it was the right call. I hate to tell you, but it was the right call pretty clearly. So, but that never happens. The flag never brings that play back if Brady Cook makes the throw to Theo Weiss on the play before. I thought that was the biggest play of the game. So if you want to have the quarterback conversation, that's where I go. Okay, let's go to the – actually, hang on. Let's not go to the next one. I want to address this comment real quick. Daniel Grove says, are the coordinators ever going to talk to the media? No, I don't think so. We've asked. The SID's asked. We talked to each of them once before fall camp opened, and that's all we're getting. Drinkwitz doesn't let his coordinators talk to the media. So that's never really has. I talked to Steve Wilkes once or twice. Talked to Blake Baker some last year. Blake got to talk, but every now and then. But no, it doesn't appear we're going to get to talk to him. And it's not for lack of effort. Okay, now, Sham, let's go to another voicemail.
Hi, Gabe. This is Morgan. I just don't understand what happened between Brady Cook and these wide receivers. Last year, it seemed like they had great chemistry, and each one, you know, you would see Mookie Cooper make an adjustment, and Brady Cook knew that was going to go in, so he'd hit him. And this year, it just looks like they haven't ever played together. Like, you just see a slightly bad throw from Cook, and Weiss can't make the adjustment on it. It hits him in the helmet.
Totally agree. And both, again, like I was texting with Gerrod during the game, and I said, like, why'd Brady take off there? And he said, because nobody's open. I said, is legitimately nobody open? And there are plays where guys are open. Don't get me wrong, but that's the problem. When guys get open, Brady doesn't see them. When Brady has time, guys don't get open. I mean, and again, they talked that coming out of spring football, we think we're the best receiving corps in the country. No. Heisman, no. Biletnikoff, no. All SEC at this point, no. Mookie Cooper dropped 2 touchdown passes. Theo Weiss caught 1. Probably should have had 2. But, you know, Brett Norfleet is not a factor. And I know he's not a wide receiver, but not a factor. Marquise Johnson, not targeted. Don't know if Josh Manning played. Mekhi Miller catches everything. I never see him. Stop the best receiving corps in the country stuff. And again, that's not saying the quarterback's great, but stop that too. All right, Tom or T.A. Hart quoting from my 5 thoughts. Then the quarterback that Drinkwitz insisted was only on the depth chart because of semantics. Absolutely shredded them. Have you talked yet about Drinkwitz? Open his big mouth on this. It's a thing, guys. It's a thing. I mean, remember the whole Boston College thing a couple years ago, right? Eli talks, and I love that he does. He's fun to cover. He's got a personality. It makes it interesting. When you talk, you open yourself up to this. The whole Marcel Reed thing was so weird. It was so weird. He just went on and on about Marcel Reed in his opening statement, and I asked him, I said, I assume that you think Marcel Reed is the starting quarterback based on that. And I'm telling you guys, he looked at me like I was a complete idiot for asking. So we came out of there going, does he really believe that? Or is he trying to play some sort of weird game to get, does he know Connor Weigman or think Connor Weigman's going to play and he wants A&M to think that he didn't prepare for? I just didn't get it. And yeah, when you go out there and that happens to you, like, what's the point? What's the point of I mean, you think Connor Wegman didn't have some fire in him from that? From basically Eli Drinkwitz saying there's no way he's going to play. Why would he play? The other guy's winning games. Whatever Drink's reasons were, they backfired. Because Connor Wegman played a hell of a football game today. And, now again, didn't have a lot of guys covered, but he did everything that had to be done today. Were Eli's comments the reason? I don't know. Maybe the kid's just way better than I give him credit for. But I would imagine he noticed. I would imagine he heard it, All right, now let's go to the voicemail.
Gabe, I don't know anymore, man. This is rough, even by Mizzou standards. Not sure what to do with my life anymore. Might just try to find a khaki smoke show and get a little distraction for the day. Hope everyone stays safe. Love you all.
Sounds like somebody who was in College Station today. I think I might know who that is, actually. I like the super downtrodden calls even better than the super angry ones because they just at least kind of make me chuckle. Let's see if we got another one next.
Hey, Gabe, I'll try to keep it quick. I think once the dust kind of settles on this game and I throw my phone away for a week and stay off Twitter, I think the rest of the season's going to prove what type of a coach Drink is. Now that he's kind of that CEO type, focusing on, I guess, being a motivator and the NIL and recruiting stuff. If this team still goes 10-2, kind of misses out on the playoff, which I'd assume is going to happen at this point, but they still look good. You're not going to replace Drink. You're not going to replace Brady. The guys we have are who we have. So what type of a season are we going to have? Are we going to end strong, or are we going to go back to 2022? Thanks.
Yeah, look, you're not firing anybody, right? I mean, Eli Drinkwitz can go 4-8. He's not getting fired this year, and we're not going to talk about it. However, fair points there from the caller. If he turns this thing around, they go win 10 games and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll give him credit. No doubt, man. I will give him credit. But if the next 7 weeks are going to prove the coach he is, what if today proves some of the coach he is? I mean, today counts, guys. Biggest game of the season. This didn't sneak up on anybody. Everybody knew. College Station, October 5th. That's the difference of you have a little leeway and you don't. People are going to talk about you as a playoff team or they aren't. It was there not just since the beginning of the season. It's been there since December. We've been looking at this one. 2 weeks to prepare. Today counts. And it counts against him in a big way. Doesn't mean he isn't the guy. Doesn't mean he can't turn it around. But it's a really, really black mark on the resume without question of this year. I mean, this was the day that your fans had pointed to. Your fans that you said, hey, maybe we just don't care enough. Oh, they care. And you find out today how much they care when you put a performance out like that. Jake says, I feel bad for Gerrod. He could have been at home and saved the company an airline ticket and a hotel cost. Look, guys, I know that's a joke, but we get this after every loss. And this is where it's good for you guys that I insist that we're not emotionally invested in it. I mean, yes, I would have absolutely rather they won this game today. And we're sitting here talking about a playoff hopes that are on path and all that. I'm not saying I'm rooting against them. I'm just saying when you can't let that get in the way of doing your job. And again, this is the most well-attended post-game show we've had. We've been over 500 people for about 48 of the 49 minutes. We're hovering up around 600 people. We've gotten close to 700 at times. Yeah, really good is great because people like to read positive stuff. But you know what? When things suck, when the train drives off the tracks into the river like it did today, people want to know why. And they want to know who's to blame. And they want to know what it means. And so, I get what you're saying, Jake. And again, I know you're probably trying to be funny, but it is more important that we do our job today than it was that we did it after beating Vandy in double overtime, or than it was after beating Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Like, you guys deserve to know, like, hey, what the hell happened and why did it happen? And that's part of what we're trying to do, not just here for a while, but Gerrod down in College Station and me writing a column after this is done and all that. So appreciate it. But again, like, I know people get mad at me for saying that we don't get emotionally invested in it, but this is why. Because on days like this, yeah, I could get on here and yell and scream and MF everybody and be sad like and get drunk like you guys. But then what do you learn? What do you learn about, like, hey, let's talk about what's actually going on? And that's why you pay us. That's why you're watching the show, you know? So that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, Sham, now let's go.
Gabe. Tiger Terry. I ain't heard Gig'em this much since my old grandpappy used to get liquored up on Old Crow, send me down to the old pond for a fresh plate of frog legs. This team was not coached to win, Gabe. That's my biggest problem. Sometimes you're going to get beat in the SEC. That's how it goes. But these boys were not coached to win. Play calling was scared. Defense, offense came out of second half. Down 24-0, did the exact same thing. Sling the rock, boys. Sling the rock, blitz them. Everybody keeps saying, oh, if we could get the offense clicking, this team would be good. Well, if my prize milking cow had balls, she'd be a bull. All right? You're lucky I've been drinking because being sober loosens my tongue. Fight Tiger.
Tiger Terry, I want you to call after every game. Thoroughly enjoyed that. But no, it is, guys. Like, I think you got out coached is like, I think a lot of times it's kind of a farce and kind of a crutch. It works today. That team came out unprepared, uninspired, unprepared. They got punched in the mouth and they laid down. I'm not saying they quit. I need to stress that. I don't say that word about a team. If Eli Drinkwitz wants to say it, maybe he said it in the post game. I don't know. Fine. That's his judgment to make. I'm not going to say quit. But they didn't get back up and fight. They got out schemed, I thought, defensively. Offensively, I don't know. Like, nothing they did worked, whether that's the scheme or the other team just had better players. I don't know. But no, coaching 100% in the crosshairs. All right, let's go to another one.
Gabe, longtime listener, first time caller. Just want to say this one might be on you. You're a sellout. I appreciate your work, but, obviously, first week at 24/7 Sports, doesn't go well for the Tigers. Kind of kidding. It's not on you. But, yeah, hear you saying it's on the coaching staff, and I don't disagree with you. But can we talk about the line play? Like, what on earth? Gabe?
Yeah, it was bad. No question. It was the offensive line. Well, I'm not even going to say just the offensive line. That defensive line in the first half, absolutely shoved around. Never got anywhere near Connor Wegman. Running plays just 4 or 5 yards off the line. Offensive line was dreadful. I mean, Brady Cook was running for his life. And again, sometimes he created that. And even when he had time, he wasn't making good throws. It's not removing blame from the quarterback. The offensive line was awful. The Gerrod just texted me. He's on his way. So probably next 10 minutes, he'll be up here and kind of fill us in on postgame. I mean, yeah, line play, like, you can't win football games if you were thoroughly outclassed on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And Missouri was. A&M's offensive line kicked the defensive line's ass, and the defensive line kicked the offensive line's ass. And that's what it comes down to. All right, let's go to another one.
Hey, Gabe, I think what's most concerning about this is that when you look at the schedule from last year, the only time they actually even went into a ranked opponent last year and got a big win on the road was at Kentucky, which, started off a little slow, but then Mizzou truly dominated, I would say, on the backs of Darius Robinson, 2 NFL corners, and, Cody Schrader. And you lose Darius Robinson, you lose the 2 NFL corners, you lose the defensive coordinator, lose all SEC left tackle, obviously Cody Schrader. And I was concerned with the replacements coming in, but even with does the team last year, my question would be, does the team last year even win this game? And did we win in spite of Brady Cook? I think you got to ask that.
I mean,
Hey,
I don't
Gabe.
know. I don't know if last year's team wins this game or not. I would say that Missouri was. I heard a stat on a podcast earlier this week. I think it was on Cover 3 that Missouri had covered 7 straight road games. So like, you know, they've won games like this or played well in games like this, whatever before. They didn't do it today. They didn't. No question. Yeah, I would think having 5 NFL defensive players would probably help. I don't know if it would have made the difference or not, but I feel like it would have been better than what happened. All right, let's hit one more voicemail, and then I'll get a few comments in before Gerrod gets up here.
What's up, Gabe? Pretty awful loss there today. I think this one was pretty much an abject failure by the coaching staff. It's kind of the same tired offense we've seen the first 4 weeks. Really no adjustments on the defensive end. They kind of got dinked and dunked all day. I think Drink's comments about we know who the real quarterback is early in the week really look bad now, especially after that game. And how poorly prepared they looked. I think probably have to have a lot of conversations internally about, how you come off a bye week and have such a bad performance like that. Definitely one of the worst losses in my time as a Mizzou fan.
No question. Awful. The comments, 100% look bad. All fair. Again, just guys, like I'm saying the same thing to every call and every comment. Like anything that is said today, you're right. There's no out of bounds after a game like that. There's nothing unfair. There's nothing over the top. Like they were awful. They were awful in every sense of the word. Let's see. Avatar Finn says it's a good thing you had a bye week to prepare. Otherwise, it would have been 100-0. Again, just at some point you got to laugh, right? You had some time to have some material. Norfleet's disappearance in the offense is bizarre. I don't know, guys. I'm going to look up Brett Norfleet's stats from last year while we're here because I think there's a chance that we saw him catch 2 touchdown passes in like 15 seconds against Arkansas, and we made it a bigger deal than it really should have been because he was wide open, and he deserves credit for doing that. But that was a scheme and a lot of things that went into that. So I am looking at Brett Norfleet. 2023, he had 18 catches for 197 yards. Okay. That's okay, I guess. He had in the last 4 games, he had 9 catches for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know. I look at those numbers and I include myself in this. Why did we build this up into something that it probably wasn't? Those aren't numbers that scream to me you've got an all SEC tight end. Those numbers scream to me, hey, you got a good outlet if you need to go to him. And then he got hurt. Tight end is, I would say, I look at Jordan Harris. He looks like an NFL defensive end. Maybe he can't catch. I don't know. I saw him catch a pass, but they don't really use him. I understand Tyler Stevens. He kind of earned his way off the field last year. But tight end is a position where it's fair to question. They've brought a lot of talent in. I'm not seeing it there. And Norfleet today, I know he was targeted on the one and looked like kind of a bad throw that he also still should have caught. I don't know. But they need more out of the tight end position, no question. Let's see. Think Kirby has zero faith in Cook, predetermined throws for him, and most receivers don't even run real routes. Well, again, then What are we doing here, guys? It wasn't just us that said, hey, this is his team and the most talent they've had in the deepest team. We didn't make this up. If what you're saying is true, if the offensive coordinator is calling the offense because he has no faith in the quarterback, then that's their fault. They don't have a quarterback. And then let's quit fluffing them up about, the number 17 recruiting class and all that. Like, if they don't have a quarterback, the rest of this doesn't matter. I think we can also put away the idea that he just didn't call the good plays in the first 4 weeks of the season, because I didn't see a single good play today. Gerrod Hamilton had to sit there and watch it in person. Gerrod, did I miss all the good plays?
Let's see. Let me think. There was a Zion Young sack, I think, in the third quarter. That was cool.
Okay, I did miss that one. I definitely was not watching that.
Marquise Johnson had like a 63-yard kick return. That was okay.
I saw that. None of these are offense yet, by the way.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, he always had a 59-yard touchdown on what was clearly a hold by Armand Membu. So everybody, I know they was getting on here talking about the penalties. Well, you got blessed with one, because, to be honest, it should be 41-3, and the fact that it's even threes in there is crazy. I was just talking downstairs, so I was, doing the show with Pate, and they were telling me that, because I was on the elevator down with maybe 4 minutes to go, that Mizzou was apparently on the 1 yard line and couldn't stuff it in.
Oh yeah, first and goal on, ended up kicking a field goal.
Yeah, so it's a 41-0 loss in my mind. This is crazy. This is crazy.
All right, so look, the most important thing, you're there. What was post game? We've already established from fans that the tough questions are not going to be asked ever. Like, it's all our fault. So what was he asked? What did he say?
First off, this is the quickest press conference Drink has had in my 3 years, by
Not
far.
surprised, yeah.
It was a little bit less than 5 minutes. It's telling Eli and Callum. I mean, they were good thing they had the same questions I had. They were firing off the questions, but Drink's responses were really short. I remember they asked something about Wigman, and basically, did you prepare for him? Was he a surprise? And all he gave is, Wigman's a great player. He was accurate. He ran the ball. He said nothing about preparation. I asked him about the bye week and the 2 weeks of preparation, and he basically told me, wow, the practice we had, the good on good, he says that all the time on Tuesday, the good on good we had is the best good on good I've seen basically in a while. I feel like he may have said since he's been a head coach or something like that, but he made it seem like it was the best he ever seen as far as practice in the last couple of weeks. And it was very clear that whatever they was practicing, it wasn't for the right thing. It wasn't for Connor Wigman. That was for sure.
Yeah. Sam says they didn't start to prep for A&M until Sunday. They didn't have a full 2 weeks. Well, then that's their fault. They should have spent more time doing it.
Well, I know they had practice during
Right.
I think we said they had like 10 something practices in the 2 weeks. So just because we don't get to go anything during the bye week, that does not mean they don't do anything. Their schedule is pretty normal. They probably get an extra day off, or maybe they switch up their days. I know Brady Cook said on Tuesday that he got Friday and Saturday of last week.
But I guarantee they had 2 or 3 extra practices.
Oh, they were practicing. So
yeah,
that's not good enough.
All right. So was Drinkwitz's stuff about Connor Wigman, do we think that was I guarantee Wigman heard it. I'm not going to say it like inspired him, but it looks even worse when the kid goes out and has the day he had today.
It's crazy that you can have the day Connor Wigman did, and he didn't even throw a touchdown.
Is that right? Wow.
Like, come on now. You're just getting carved up. Okay, so what have you talked about? Because I just feel like I just want to get a quick thoughts on the game from
I mean, we basically said everything was terrible. There's obviously a lot of heat on the quarterback, all deserved. Offensive line was bad. Here's how I'm going to give you the intro to talk about this. You tell me what was worse out of these 3 things. What was the worst thing? Offense, defense, or coaching?
Coaching. Easily. Okay. So yeah, Colin Klein beat the snot out of Corey Batum. It was bad. I mean, every pass play, whenever a receiver for Texas A&M caught the ball, they had at least 5 yards between them. That zone, whatever they're doing, was not good. Also, even when they did have good coverage, they were getting mossed on everything. So Wigman had 8 plays. What Stat Broadcast considers big plays or passes of 15 or more yards, and rushes for 10 or more yards. Wigman had 8. I want to say Mizzou as a team had 7, like combined rushing and passing, but I've got to look at it again. But he had 8. The receivers were going up and getting everything they wanted. The offensive line, well, I got to get back to the offensive line. So a couple weeks ago, I came on here and I told y'all 3 sacks and 8 tackles for loss versus Vandy seems like trouble to me, but everybody wanted to tell me I was being a little too hard. Well, how about 6 sacks and 8 tackles for loss? I think that's what it is. But
it could have been 12 sacks too.
They got destroyed in the trenches. I mean, it was bad. They had lanes so big for Moss and I think it's Daniels, the other running back. I mean, you could drive buses through. We talked to Christian Williams, who was pretty decent. It was quick, but it was pretty decent. And I mean, he didn't even really have words. It's just like, you just kind of got to get better. I mean, and my thing is, when you have a loss like this, someone asked, I think, Will, what can you learn from it? And I don't even remember what he said. It wasn't anything. It was just kind of like, you got to move on. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't even know. Like, do you just scrap this away because it's so bad? It's like, I don't know what film you can get, or do you try to pick apart, some of the things? I know someone just said that we knew the pass blocking was bad. Well, clearly, and I was trying to tell y'all that there was something up with I didn't think I'm not trying to say it was the worst ever. It was not that bad, but I said, like, I don't know. It feels like Cook is under a lot more duress than he probably should be versus Vandy. And today, like, Cook was not good at any stretch, but it's kind of hard to be good when you're running for your life. I mean, he was not good. I can't defend that. Some of the things he's doing is just like, what are you doing?
I said, you correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the game changed on the missed touchdown to Theo Weiss. I mean, you have to make
Theo
that throw.
or Lou?
Theo, the one right before the Luther penalty, where he was like, it was the play before the Luther penalty where Theo was down the seam. He was open. All he's got to do is hit him, and it's a touchdown.
Okay, yeah. So
I thought the game changed there.
Well, here's when I thought the game, when they didn't get the Burden touchdown, right. And then I think so they didn't get the Burden touchdown. That's wiped out. I was just like, ugh, it's gonna be hard to get that back. And then when Toriano Pride couldn't get that interception, now here's the thing on that play: he got hit right when the ball came. But I remember,
but he stood there and waited for it like a punt.
That's what I was about to say. When live, I was thinking, well, Connor just threw him a gimme, and he just stood there and waited. And anybody who's played sports from Little League on up knows that if a play like that happens, the first thing your coach is going to say is, you got to go to the ball. You start waiting on that ball to come to you, and bad things are going to happen. So he took a hit and didn't get it. And then Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure, scored a touchdown on that drive. So that's when it was like, well,
that's a lot of talk in the chat. Vandy's up 13-0 on Bama 7 minutes in. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Bama probably wins that game. But yeah, I mean, okay, so which line was worse, the offensive line or the defensive line? Because I think it's a competition.
Offensive line. Ooh, I think about it a little bit more.
The defensive line was pretty bad, man. Probably the offensive line, I think I would agree, but the defensive line was bad.
I'm going to still go O-line. Let me try to find the sacks. Missouri just had 1 sack.
Yeah.
But they had 5 tackles for loss. That's not doing it for me. But I'm going to say, because the offensive line was supposed to be so great. I mean, we were talking about a group that could have been better than the Joe Moore semifinalist group from last year. That's what we thought Marcus Bryant and Caden Green were going to be. It's not it. That's not it.
Not right now.
Caden is raw, and Marcus Bryant, Nick Scorden was having fun out there today. I'll tell you that. That's what it looked like. He was having fun. There was a play where Brady almost threw an interception. Basically, DB just dropped it. Texas A&M sent like 6 or 7 guys, and I don't know who got there. I don't know if it was Scorden himself, but he kind of like, it looked like Cook got pushed back. And after the play was over, I could just see Scorden. He was talking a lot of trash to Brady, like. And, of course, they were about up 17-24. I don't know what it was, but they were up big. And it was just basically letting Brady know, like, all day. And I'm going to do whatever I want to do against your offensive line all day.
So who'd you guys talk to besides Williams and Drink?
Theo Weiss was last. It took a minute. It was probably like at least 25 to 30 minutes between Williams and Weiss. You guys know probably a lot of you guys seen Texas A&M DB Will Lee posted
who by the way had a hell of a game today.
Was the touchdown Weiss? I'm gonna assume that Weiss touchdown was not on Lee. I mean,
I can't remember honestly.
Yeah, he had a decent day. He backed up his talk. But Theo,
like, there's no way Will Lee actually did that, right? Somebody from Missouri 100% did that.
I don't know, but it only helped him. It only helped him. It only helped him. But as far as Theo, Theo, of all the interviews, his was the shortest, the quickest, and he wasn't really trying to talk. Somebody asked him about preparation, and this is kind of telling to me. They asked him about preparation during the bye week, and he said Texas A&M did everything we knew they were going to do. And I wanted to say, but another question. I was thinking, so if you knew everything and you still got beat like this, what's that say about y'all? Like, I don't know. If I knew you're going to throw a jab or a hook at me and I still stand there and take it, whose fault is that?
Yeah. I mean, you might have known what they were going to do, but they just did it way better than you did.
And we were saying this earlier in the week. I forgot what we were exactly talking about, but you can know what a team scheme is and all that. You still got to stop it. Mm-hmm. And Missouri couldn't stop anything. Oh, that's something Drink said about the defense. The defense didn't do much of anything. That's what
I agree. They did nothing well. Zach says, well, I think things aren't good. Is it possible they aren't as bad as we all think? Talk us off the ledge. Okay, so yes, it's not as bad as it looks today. Like, I don't care. I'm not saying they're a good team, but there's no way they're that bad. I mean, that looked like Missouri State against 1995 Nebraska. Like, they can't possibly be that bad.
Let me ask you this. Did you already say about the Vanderbilt game that, I was more of a true indication of who they are?
It's certainly a possibility. You're 5 games in now. This is who you are until you prove it otherwise.
Yeah, that I was just telling them downstairs, I've said it to y'all. The reason Mizzou had a 0 in the loss column coming into this game is because they were playing teams who couldn't fully take advantage of their mistakes. Mm-hmm. BC within 6, double overtime for Vandy. And I mean, Vandy pulled some Vandy stuff, but they really gave it back to Mizzou. They were facing teams who couldn't take the win, who couldn't, capitalize. Now you get a team who can capitalize on it. And not only do they beat you, they beat you down badly in the marquee game of the week of ranked opponents for the morning slot or whatever. Everybody's seen this beat down. So I don't know.
I said, and we won't keep you too much longer because I know you got a lot of stuff to do. I said that, I don't use the word quit because I don't think that's fair for me watching on TV to use that word. But after that touchdown got called back, it just kind of seemed like Missouri didn't have the energy to punch. There was some bad body language on that sideline. Did Drinkwood say anything regarding the effort or the sideline or anything along those lines? And I know you guys can't see TV, so
nothing more than it's just one loss. We got to fight back. I take responsibility for the butt whooping, all that stuff. I don't want to say he was speechless, but it just there wasn't much to say.
There's literally nothing he can say that people are going to go, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. It doesn't matter what he says today.
You know what this felt like? I told somebody in the press box while we was waiting for Theo. This loss felt like when Drink went up to Heupel and said, we standing on business. This felt like Elko saying the same thing. I mean, he didn't. I'm not saying that's what happened, right. But he beat them down. And all the stuff about Kyle Field, even though I think the comments were taken out of context, all the stuff about Marcel Reed playing or whatever. And basically, I feel like I wrote this in it was the notebook. He didn't say anything about Wigman and his abilities. Usually he'll run down every player on somebody's roster and say, they can do this well, they can do this well. When it came to Connor, he didn't even think about saying, oh, well, this is what he can do if he plays. He didn't say none of that. And so when you take all of that and then you go for the cheap little field goal to get 10 points, and then you see Elko hyping up the fans and stuff, that right there, when I seen that, I was just like, that's his, like, it's the version of when people do the too small thing in basketball. That's what that felt like.
Yeah, so we'll let you go with this. I said earlier in the show, like, I'm not going to discuss the college football playoff and stuff. That's stupid.
Which Drink also was saying, someone asked him about that. Do you got to reevaluate your season, basically, when it comes to that? And he said, I've never thought about that stuff. Somebody asked him about Auburn and Alabama down the line. I don't know why they brought up Auburn, but maybe an Auburn team can beat them if they play like this. He was just like, I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm just thinking about this team and what we can do for next week at UMass. And I got a question for you when you finish your thought.
So, well, my point was, okay, next week's going to be a win, right? Like, they're going to be 5-1, and I'll just warn you right now, you're not allowed to write from UMass about anything being fixed or better. We won't run anything that says that. But what is we're not talking playoff, but people want to know, like, what's the ceiling now? Kind of like Drink was asked, do we have to reevaluate?
Your ceiling is 10-2. I can't.
It's hard to see him getting there, but that is.
Well, yeah, that is your ceiling. You're not beating Alabama. Not with this. Something's got to change. So you keep playing like this. You gotta. And I said this on the radio yesterday to someone. This game was super important, and we talked about it this week. It's super important because now that Alabama game is the game of your season. You want to get in. And now I'm thinking, can you beat Oklahoma?
I'm thinking, can you get to Alabama with that on the table? They play like they did today. Auburn will beat them.
Exactly. And so that's probably why somebody brought up Auburn. Okay, that's where they are in the schedule. What I wanted to ask you, it was kind of like a little discussion between media members in the press conference room was, would you rather play UMass next week, or do you want like just another conference opponent? And I was saying the UMass game to me is very opportune. You need confidence. You need confidence that you can do stuff. You go face another team like this, you may be a little tight because you're just like, oh man, like it's still an SEC team, and if we lose, like they're pretty confident they'll win at UMass, I would guess. But you gotta see, it's kind of the equivalent of a shooter having a bad day. You gotta see a couple layups go in, a couple free throws for me. But what would you say?
I mean, I guess I'd rather play UMass next week because at least you know you're going to win. But like, again, we're talking about a team that just had 2 weeks to prepare for its biggest game of the season and came out and looked like they didn't belong in the same sport with Texas A&M. So, like, next week just won't do anything to change my mind. Like, I don't care if they win 83 to -12 next week and have 750 yards of passing. Like, it just doesn't matter to me. I have to see it against a real team.
Well, here's the thing, though, and this is why I'm saying in defense of the team, I wouldn't be worried about that. For one, another thing that matters, style points for the rest of the year. You got to run it up on everybody. You got to do that.
You just got to win, though.
Like, yeah, I know, but for this game in particular coming up, yeah, get those style points in, and the next game isn't going to teach anybody anything. The only thing it can do is give them more confidence. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I mean, it's UMass, but yeah, can Lou have 200 yards or something? Can they do something to make them feel like, all right, we can do this. We just need to see it happen. Now let's go. Because I'm telling you, if they faced Auburn next week, I don't know how I'd feel about that, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so Tyler Collins says the lack of preparation should have been addressed. Look, it was. I mean, it wasn't addressed, but Gerrod asked him about it. We can't.
He said he thought it was a great practice. He said he thought they prepared well. So that's all.
And again, like when you say, you know, how do you explain this coming out of a bye? Like, what's he going to say that's going to satisfy people? Nothing.
I mean, because remember, guys, sure, these coaches could be very honest with you, and I don't think they're afraid of honesty, but you have to do it at the expense of, if you're too honest, you do it at the expense of your players' confidence and trust.
You're getting what Hugh Freeze is doing if you're too honest, right?
Well, yeah,
you get blamed for bagging on your players every week.
Yeah, you can't put it on your players, you know, if you're being too honest, or you know, it's just a mess. So he can only kind of say too much. I mean, he can only say so much about the preparation and what happens. He did the best job I think he could have, as far as just saying like it's on me. Like we just stunk it up. That's all you can say.
There are no answers. All right, I'm going to put up one more comment for you, and then we're going to let you go. Stuart says this is, and I'm only putting this up because it makes me angry, and I want you to react to my anger. This has probably always been optimistically a 7 or 8 win team. We weren't sure. Now the picture is clear. No, guys, I won't. I'm not okay with. Yeah, we were just wrong. You know, hey, we just overestimated this. It wasn't you guys. It wasn't us that was saying, hey, this is our deepest, most talented team. It was them. They were the ones saying we got the best receiving core in the country. They were the ones saying this is my deepest team. They were the ones saying we've got everything we need, blah, 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 blah. It was them. They said it. They wear this. It's not your fault for thinking this team had a chance. Don't do this. Well, I shouldn't have got my hopes up. No, they told you they're good enough, and they haven't been good enough. That's on them, not you.
Oh man, that brings up a good point. I don't want to hear about the receiving room no more. Also, Brady Cook, another thing that kind of bails me out, again, not well. He didn't play well, but there was a period during the game where Gabe texted me and said, like, are the receivers just really not that open? And I'm like, no, they are not getting open with anything. So I can see why Brady is scrambling for his life, throwing the ball out of bounds. I mean, yeah, he did miss shots to like Theo, and there was a couple, plays like that. There was also a couple of drops. I think Mookie should have had that touchdown late in the game. I know it doesn't mean
he dropped
nothing,
too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, but like you got to hang on. But the receivers, some of the routes also, I don't get them. They're 10 route. They're 10-yard, like basically, comeback routes, and they're just standing there. And my thing is, when Brady's scrambling, no one's moving. No one's trying to come closer to the ball. No one's trying to make themselves open. They just stand there. And then he throws the ball into double coverage or whatever he's doing. Like, again, Brady definitely deserves a lot, but it's hard to place it all on him like y'all want to when I'm seeing this so-called greatest wide receiver room not doing well, when I'm seeing this offensive line that's supposed to have the Joe Moore type of level, offensive line, when they're not doing well. It's hard.
Yep. No question. Well, Gerrod, appreciate it, man. Look, like I said, days like this is people say, sorry, you have to go, but this is when it's important, right? This is the job, man. So go get it done, and we'll be in touch.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. Thanks. That's Gerrod Hamilton from the press box in College Station, Texas. So look, here's what we're going to do now. Sham, I know we still have some voicemails left. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them. Let's start playing them, and I'll throw some comments up, and we'll go for a little while.
I shouldn't care this much on October 5th, but I got tears streaming down my face. I'm sure other people have their answers, have their thoughts. The only thing I need to let out is a motherfucker.
There we go. There's our one.
This much.
All right. Let's go to the next call.
Gabe, I know you're going to be shaking your head when I say this, but the refs completely changed the entire outlook of that game. You can't tell me they didn't. I know our defense can't stop them at all right now, so this thing could be a shootout is my point, because that first drive of the game, Mizzou should have had first and goal. They get a touchdown, they go up 7-0. And then A&M comes out, their back's against the wall a little bit, the crowd's a little bit quieter, and then on their third down, on their first drive, they get a pass interference to bail them out and continue their drive. And then so they could be punting the ball back to Mizzou, who's
okay. First of all, the holding on Joseph Charleston, it was a good call, guys. He had his arm, he had it pinned down. It was the right call. The Theo Weiss call, again, what did you see that tells you at any point in that game, yeah, then Missouri's going to turn that into a touchdown, and then Missouri's going to get a stop? What did you see? It never happened. A&M scored on 7 of its first 9 drives. Missouri did nothing on offense. What tells you that one call, was that? And again, if that call so deflated them They went from this team that was really good, that had all this stuff, to we got nothing. That's on them. That's soft. No, it didn't. It was a bad call. Absolutely. Missouri should have had first down at, like, I don't know, the 15-yard line or something like that. Absolutely bad call. Nothing. All I believe that does is maybe you lose 41-17. I mean, again, if it makes you feel better to say everything changed and that's why we lost, that's fine. But you had a team that just got destroyed on every single snap on both sides of the football. It wasn't a call in the first quarter. Next call.
I'm fucking done, man. I spent 20 years watching this fucking team. Waking up at 2 a.m.
All right. He's
This
done.
team
Let's
is
go.
softer than RHC 4x4.
Okay, we've heard that one. So
What the hell is going on?
all right. So
Hey, Gabe. This is Manny from St. Louis. Longtime listener, first time caller. Love everything you do, Gabe. Just calling, just hoping to see maybe if you have a lead on what the uniform situation is going to be for the UMass game, and also if you have any intel on the uniforms for the Alabama game. If you have a lead or anything as a reporter, just wanted to see. Love all the work you do, Manny in St. Louis. I'm out.
Manny, I appreciate the call. That feels like the official, like, we are done with the voicemails. Look, it was our goal to get a bunch more on. I think we did that. Appreciate everybody that called and everybody that's on here as well. I mean, we're still around 500 people, guys, and would ask you to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that while you're here. And it just ultimately we will know what today was in a month, 5 weeks. It was one of two things. It was either an indication of this is what this team is, or like they're not this bad, right? They haven't been this bad all year. They're not this bad. But it was an indication that what we wanted this team to be, it's just not capable of. And that's certainly a possibility. And I understand why everybody probably believes that's the case right now. The other thing it could have been is the worst day you can have at the worst time. And look, if Eli Drinkwitz gets this team after that effort turned around and they go beat everybody on their schedule except Alabama, then I will tip my cap, say he's one hell of a coach, and it's too bad he couldn't get it going a week sooner. It's hard to see from here, but they have 7 more games left, and all we can do is watch them. Again, next week's not going to give us any answers. I think they should beat Auburn at home, but like, that's game 7, and we got to see them play well against somebody good or somebody that matters, and UMass doesn't matter. So we're going to get through the first half of the season, and we haven't seen this team play well against anybody that matters. Maybe they'll do it against Auburn, and then who knows? I mean, Vanderbilt jumped out 13-0 at Alabama. Maybe weird things happen down there, and maybe you get on a run. So, like, it's not over, and your goals aren't out the window, but they are a lot harder to see being reached after what Missouri put out today, because I didn't think that was in this Missouri team. Like, I didn't think being that non-competitive was in this team. And it obviously is. I don't think it's in there every week. But if today's the floor, what's the ceiling? Because the ceiling we've seen is like what they did against Boston College. And that's okay if your goal is the Music City Bowl or the Gator Bowl. But that's not this team's goal. And so you've got to see a higher ceiling, and we haven't seen it. Maybe it's there. But, it's getting late early. And you got to go prove something at some point. Again, I wrote after the Vandy game, the only reason they're a top 10 team is because of what they did last year. And they've got to go earn it. And people got mad at me for that, but I stand by it. They didn't earn anything today. Not going to earn anything next week. You're going to have to earn it in Auburn, Alabama, Oklahoma, South Carolina. You got to go win a minimum of 3 of those, and you might have to win them all. That's where they put themselves with this performance today. It was dreadful. It was as bad as I can remember in a long time. I appreciate you guys hanging out here and doing a little group therapy to talk about it. I guess we're on to Cincinnati, right? Or on to Massachusetts, whatever. We aren't yet. We're going to have a lot of coverage coming up on the site. I'm going to turn this into a podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, share it on social media. If you watched on YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. I want to thank Gerrod for stopping by, Sean for running the show, getting all your voicemails up. Thank everybody that called in. Thank, as always, our friends at Yuengling, who have sponsored our pregame and postgame shows for the last couple seasons and will continue to do so for the rest of the year, regardless of how it goes. I hope the next one's happier, guys. Well, the next one will be happier, but I hope the next one has more celebratory drinks and few angrier drinks and curse words. We'll get there. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you next time.